song is pretty much everything we need to know about meditation. When we meditate, and when I learned to meditate, it was just a matter of sitting and following your breath and sending thoughts away when they came. And I found over the years, I got away from sitting and doing that many times in my life. But over the years, I found that when I could just do a morning practice of reading something inspiring and then meditating, it made a huge difference in my day. And I like to always do that practice, and I don't always do that practice. And recently, people like Eckhart Tolle have told us that he hasn't suggested that we don't sit and formally meditate, but he has reminded us that throughout the day, we can stop and take a deep breath, and it makes a very big change in our lives, like a mini meditation. So, I have been trying, since I was 4 years old, consciously, to remember to take a breath before I speak. I have not mastered that, but it's only been 62 years. I do usually remember now to take a breath after I speak before I get too angry. So there's progress. But let's take a couple of minutes and just breathe. It's an amazing thing that we can breathe without any thought about it at all. It's us, it's definitely our bodies, it's in us, right? It's internal, and we don't have to give it a single thought for it to happen. But if we add a little consciousness to it, or take thoughts away from it, it can change our whole lives and make clarity where there was none before. So let's just take a couple of minutes and breathe and pay attention to our breathing. Okay, let's gently come back into wherever it was that you went. I hope he went somewhere. I hope it wasn't the grocery store. That was not at all the meditation I planned. I hope you liked it. This talk does not sound like the title of a Unity talk at all. The name of the talk is, What is Wrong with You? Buffered by probably not as much as you think. And, I get kind of winter depressy. My whole family gets kind of winter depressy. And I don't think it's that official. We could get diagnosed, but we're good at getting diagnosed for all kinds of things that all we need is a little extra work on our lives to fix. Not to diss anybody who is diagnosed and who has to deal with a clinical kind of depression. I'm not talking about clinical depression. But we do and study and talk about so many wonderful, lofty things, and then we don't feel them all the time. We can't carry them all the time. When I say we or you, I mean me. And I figure since we're all more alike than different, it probably you. But if it doesn't count as you, you can just sit there thinking, wow, she's really messed up. I feel good now. It's kind of like watching a episode of Hoarders instead of cleaning the house, So either way, you should feel good. When I started my earnest spiritual journey, first I started Catholic, and that was put upon. I didn't pick that. Well, I guess I picked it at some point, because I do believe we have some input in where we go and what lives we live, but I didn't remember picking being Catholic. And I gave it up as soon as I was old enough to say no. And when I started my next spiritual education in earnest, then I was very earnest. I signed a vow of poverty. I signed away all my possessions. I signed for the rest of my life. And even when it looked like that had ended, it has still been the same principles. It stuck on and off, but for the rest of my life. It was pretty much what I'm doing now. But when I first went there, I was so unsure of myself that every time our leader, Michael, would have a meeting and tell us you are all spiritual beings, and my head would go, except me. And he would say, everybody is right where they should be. And my mind would go, except me. And I thought everybody had it together. And anybody who had gotten there, even a day before I did, I thought, oh, these are the spiritual beings, I'm lucky I didn't kill myself or my kids, because I took advice from morons. Because I knew they were trying to live a spiritual life, and they had started before I did, so I figured they were ahead of me. And I figured everything, that they knew what was happening, and I was the only one that didn't know what was happening. And over the years, since then, I have found that so many of us do exactly the same thing. Now, I don't feel like that much of the time. I don't feel like, yeah, everybody except me has it together now. Sometimes I really have it together. I'm wonderful. I'm magnificent. Sometimes. Other times, you can't say the words. I promised Margaret I wouldn't say those kind of words on the podium. But you know what I mean. Sometimes I don't have it together, But what's funny is what we expect of ourselves, We in Unity and we have a very wide set of beliefs, but I think most of us here pretty much believe that we are divine and human, and they're battling it out in this body. You know the story about which wolf you feed. And I want to show you a couple of quotes that are common to us here. Should have asked Lester how to use the clicker.
I'll do it.
Okay. See, sometimes I can build a 50-page website, and sometimes I can't work a clicker. If you want the truth to stand clear before you, never before or against. That's a really high, lofty statement. It took me years to understand what that meant. And I have lived parts of my life understanding it but not being able to do it. And I have lived brief times where I was doing it. And it's amazing to me. Next slide, please. Okay. This one, the picture on this one cracks me up. D, and anybody else, Course in Miracles, I'm sorry. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Okay, that's the summation of the whole Course in Miracles. The picture is from the Matrix, which also has some very good spiritual lessons. It's an odd combination, but it's the only one I can find. But that's a really hard thing to believe. You know, they say when you're up to your neck in alligators, it's hard to remember that your initial objective was to drain the swamp. This is one of those, you know. When I'm in a Course in Miracles class, I know that's true. I get it, I understand it, I can do it. But when I'm up to my neck in alligators, that's meaningless to me. When I'm under it, you know those under the covers days? I don't want to see that stuff. Okay, the next slide is, we are here to awaken from the illusion of separation. Okay, I get that. And that one I'm pretty good at a fair amount of the time. But that's a lofty aspiration. You know, if you go out on the street and you say that to people, how many of them will know what you're talking about? And I don't mean to compare us to other people like we're better than them. I just mean we've been doing a lot of work for a long time that a lot of other people haven't been doing yet. And you know, as the Course in Miracles says something like, this curriculum is not, what's it say, D? It's mandatory. You're going to do it. The only thing you get to choose is when. But this is it. You know, well, this one's not Course in Miracles. This is from Thich Nhat Hanh. But all of these things, and a lot of our books say that, this is where you're going. How long it takes you to get there, that's up to you. You know, so when I talk about us and other people, I don't mean to separate. I hate things that cause division. But I think sometimes we have to look at what we have accomplished that is not universal for us to realize that we've gotten anything done. And the last quote, and y'all know this one, you are the light of the world, okay? But some days, I told somebody this week, in a very positive manner, that she was not the light of the world. And it took a huge burden off her shoulders. Because she couldn't live up to it this week. She didn't feel like the light of the world this week. And so she felt like a failure. And we should never have to feel like a failure because we don't feel like the light of the world. I mean, there's probably a pretty good range in between failure and light of the world, you know? I mean, there's a lot of places you could fall in between there. Anybody here a serial killer? You know, so we're in this weird mixture of great divine knowledge, and then we take it out and we try to make it work on the earth plane. And the earth plane is difficult. You know, I have another it's not a quote, it's a story, and it hits me really hard, and it's I have to find it because I'm out of order already. Am I 5 minutes in? It's a story about a monk, and he's a master, and he's crying because his son has died. And the student comes and says, "Why are you crying about this, master? You know it's an illusion." And the monk says, "But the death of a son is the greatest illusion." And that really hits me hard because we have to know that there's more, but we can't push more on people that are suffering, or when we're suffering. When something terrible happens to me, don't stand close to me and give me a pep talk. At least stand an arm's width away. Because there are days that we just can't manage that, you know? I remember Ethan had a house that burnt down. He lost a lot of money. And I was very spiritual at the time. And I posted on Facebook, thank God nobody was hurt. You know, and the animals got out, and the people got out, and Ethan said something like, "You think I could have an hour before the gratitude sets in?" Because it was too much. It's too much. Sometimes we can barely do what we can do. But so I want to know, what's wrong with that? You know, what is wrong with us? What do we think? What are we defining? You know, I have another clip. One of my favorite spiritual teachers, and I'm sure some of you will love him and some of you will hate him. I think he's brilliant. You want to play that one for me,
My
Leslie?
motivation in performing is to convey to you my belief that deep within each of us there is an essence, and if we can connect with that essence as individuals and connect to one another truthfully, there's a divine power that will be unleashed with which we can change ourselves as individuals, society, and maybe even the world. That's the main reason I come here, but I've got to be honest, there is a financial component to it. Turns out.
Did y'all catch that?
Yes.
Because he talks really fast. I love him, and I love the words he uses. But anything British always sounds smarter anyway. But it's so, you know, yes, we want to spread the light, and we want to add, and we want to be one. But, you know, you got to make a living, you got to pay the rent, you got to pay the bills, you got to deal with the kids. Ethan almost cut. Ethan, you and Ken are always my topics. So the fact that you're here just means you watch me out you know. Ethan almost cut the tip of his finger off last week. And I'm mom, you know. So the first thing I want is, now other moms would not do this, and it sounds perverse, but he did it in Florida. I want pictures right now. So I know exactly how much I need to worry. And what I need to boss him around to do. You know, he's grown up. I won't give away his age because it would also give away my age, but he doesn't need his mom to tell him when to put a Band-Aid on his finger or go to the emergency room. But it's like, those are the things, you know, and he stayed very high. He was very good. And in fact, my boys have amazed me in many ways that are not like this, but they have amazed me at their positive attitude sometimes to, you know, what somebody might call a disaster, things that require emergency room treatment, you know. I really appreciate that about them. But anyway, so the workshop that I'm doing is on change. And like I said before doing that, we need to look at what is it that we need to change. I mean, there are our changes. Like I said, I'm a recovering alcoholic, okay? I can't fix that in a 2-hour workshop. I wish I could. But that's not, you know, that takes a lot. And it's an external change as well as an internal change. A lot of the changes that I'm talking about here are internal changes. There's also, we're going to talk about other external changes too, because we always as a group, we seem to be people who want to improve themselves a lot regularly and be able to deal with whatever comes down the pike toward us. And we need to know who we are to know what we need to change. You know, when we're feeling like we're not enough, what is making us feel that way? Because I don't want to base my changes on my feeling terrible about myself, unless the change is making myself feel better about myself. You know, that's the only one that belongs in that category. We need to know who we are. You know, whose standards are we listening to when we're thinking about who we are? You know, like I still have tapes from I pretty much got rid of the nuns. That took a long time. They take a really long time to exercise. They were good. I've pretty well gotten rid of them. My mother's still there sometimes, you know, and I don't mean the old lady that lives in Florida. I mean the woman in her 30s that was powerful, almighty. She was right up there with Santa Claus and God in her powers, you know. And those tapes run through the mind. And even when they don't come in her voice, she disguises her voice sometimes to tell me I shouldn't do something. And I don't even know who's telling me that. It's like, so I have to think about, is this my decision? You know, why do I feel bad about this? And if I don't have a good reason, I really should stop feeling bad about it, you know. Ken, my husband, is very, very, very good at acceptance. He's so good at acceptance that I'm hoping it'll ruin his whole day when I die. But I was laying on the couch the other day and whining about how lazy I am and I don't get up and do anything. And he said, he's so supportive. He said, well, you're old. How many of your friends are dead? And I said, good point, you know? It wasn't real motivating, but it was good on the acceptance level, you know? And he also said, this was beautiful. You know, Ken's not a flowery guy, if you know Ken. He doesn't say much. What he says is worth listening to for most people. I mean, the stuff he says to you, not necessarily stuff he says at my house. But, you know, we don't fight, we don't say mean things to each other when we fight. We have never had a habit of saying things that we didn't mean to say. Once in a while I see things that I didn't mean to say out loud, but they're not things I didn't mean to say, that I didn't mean. You know? But we have more had a habit of a couple words we use all the time, very fast, you, done, okay? And in the last year, he picked up this phrase, he somehow changed the phrase to, go love yourself. Is that fantastic or what? And you know, I hate it when he's more spiritual than I am. But isn't that wonderful? Go love yourself. You know, every time you don't feel good about yourself, go love yourself. You know, because here's the other thing about change is it's much harder to do if you're not accepting who you are. You know, you cannot change a person that you don't like. You know, you already don't like them, and it's not, you know, I mean, when I've made some big changes, I can't say I was crazy about myself when I quit drinking. I was doing some messed up stuff. But I was also actually in pretty good shape because I was so opposed to quitting drinking that I tried to improve everything else in my life so that wouldn't be the answer. You know, I was like trying to exercise, I was trying to eat better, and all this stupid stuff, so I wouldn't be a drunk. Until I finally had to concede to the fact that alcohol is messing up my life. And I need to make a change about that, you know. So I think that's one of the big questions in, you know, how am I doing? Is there something wrong with me? One of the big questions is, how is it affecting your life? And how do you want your life to be? You know, if me getting out of bed, because here's what happens, okay? I can lay on the couch. I don't have to be anywhere. I mean, I don't have a job anymore. I have very few responsibilities, but over the years, I've weaseled out of almost all of them, you know? And so I can lay on the couch, and I can watch TV, or watch, now that we didn't have a TV for years, but now all the TV stuff's on the computer. I can watch YouTube, I can watch Hulu, so I can waste time exactly the same as when we had the TV. Or I can get out of bed and go into my workroom and make bread dough clocks. I know that sounds ridiculous, but bread dough clocks, and feel like I have accomplished something. Now, where the hell is the difference between laying on the couch watching TV and making bread dough clocks in the scheme of things? Do I need to hate myself for one of those? It's just not what we have to do to ourselves, you know? It's not. Now, if I could go cure cancer instead of laying on the couch, that would be different, you know? I do try to spread the light and share the joy, you know? I do try to, and it's not hard to try that because I love my people. I love all of you, you know? I had been feeling really crummy a few days ago, and I was talking to Marlene on the phone, and then I saw her the next day. She said, "Oh, you seem really bubbly and fine." And I was like, "Of course, I got myself out of the house to see my friends. It fixes me. I won't do it unless I absolutely have to, but it fixes me, you know?" So, I also realized over the years, you know, I had a few hard things in the last couple of years, and they were hard for me. They were not necessarily hard what and other people would consider hard. I mean, one of the things I said this in a book the other day, and we have to realize is that there is not a competition in hardship and tragedy, you know, because some people are having really hard times for really hard reasons, and I give that my utmost respect, and I don't forget about it when I'm making my whiny little complaints. On the other hand, my things are my worst things right now, and they count because they affect my life. Your things count, whether somebody else thinks they're stupid or not, or whether they're not. We always need to be grateful, but we don't need to denigrate our own needs because somebody else is suffering worse. You know, we need to acknowledge ourselves. And I think also we need to take responsibility, absolute 100% responsibility for for what we do today. Okay? That doesn't mean that we're responsible entirely by ourselves for having gotten here. A lot of us have been damaged, and a lot of us have been damaged by other people. That's a fact. You know, that doesn't, no kind of belief system changes the fact that some of us were damaged by people. What we do with that is what changes us a lot, you know? Whether we hang on to that and whine about, I can't change because I had a terrible childhood. Tell me that when you're 15 and I'll buy it, you know? 20, maybe I'll go for that. 40, it's on you, you know? If you're whining at 40 because you had a terrible childhood, you could have already put some therapist kid through college and be better. You know, it's on you. So all of us, no matter what happened yesterday or in our childhoods or whenever, today we have total responsibility for acknowledging that we got to do something with it. You know, and we may have people that we need to forgive. We may not be ready to forgive people. We may be carrying stuff that we can't quite fix yet. But we have to know that we're the only ones that can fix it. And we're the only people we can fix. And boy, I'll tell you, when you realize that, that takes a lot of work off your plate. It's like being on vacation. I think that we need to look at things like, wasting time. Now, a lot of us in here are pretty old. It's a fact. I know people always get offended when I say, they say, you're not old. Listen, if the government will give me money for being old, you can bet I'm old. I think that's pretty much a divider line, you know? It doesn't mean I have to feel old or act old, but if you, you get Social Security old, all right? And we've done a lot of stuff, and we can't all do, a lot of you can do more than I can do, and who are older than I am, but we can't all do the stuff that we used to do, and that's kind of hard. But it's also good to realize, and it's a great excuse for being on the couch. We just don't want to overdo it, you know? So I think, when it comes down to Eckhart Tolle tells, I totally lost my talk here. I'm going to go home and say, oh, geez, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. I do have one thing I skipped I want to talk about. I think one of the things that happens to us that makes us feel bad about ourselves or feel like we could do better is that we seem to me to be the only species that has the imagination to realize how much better we could do, or how much better things could be. So you do something and you go, oh, I coulda, I shoulda, and so now you're down on yourself for what you did because it wasn't better than it was. And Maya Angelou says, I think it was her, everything gets attributed to her if it sounds good. But I think it was who said, as you know better, you do better. And I've never seen that be untrue. As you know better, you do better. So you learn and you do better. And that ability for humans to adapt and to imagine is a great thing, but it also works against us. So yeah, if you can think of a better way that you should have done something, then take it as a lesson. Just like when you do something that, I've made many, many mistakes in my life. I don't have regrets because I changed them from mistakes to lessons. Switch the words, switch the perspective, makes everything different, And I don't want to do the same thing again. That's what makes a difference. Okay, I made a mistake doing this thing. I don't want to do it again. We move on from here. But to not feel like we didn't do the best because we didn't do the best we could imagine happening, it's not true, and it's too hard on ourselves. So I want us to go easy on ourselves, and I want me, because I know how I treat my friends, and I want me to start treating me. I've said this too many times for it to not be happening. I want me to treat me the way I treat my friends. Amen. Because, I can rationalize anything my friends do. Now, I'm not saying I want to rationalize all my bad behavior. But if Marlene did something and came to me, or Charlene did something, any of you came to me and said, oh my God, I just did this, I would find a way to make that okay. And don't worry, you learned from that. Now you're not going to kill your next husband. But me, I do some little stupid thing and I'm all over myself. It's, and I know a lot of you are like that, And life is hard. Life on the earth plane is tough. So if we're not living up to all those lofty quotes that we put up, I don't think we have to totally diss ourselves. And I think my goal is to be like these spiritual masters. If you saw my Facebook post yesterday, I know some of you aren't on Facebook, these guys just amaze me because they just be. And I don't think they ever, feel bad. Once in a while they feel bad because they didn't catch a gecko or it took it away from them. So they do have some regrets, But if they have a fear, they deal with it. Like Axel doesn't like strangers. Axel's the one on the bottom. He doesn't like strangers, okay? So, but he doesn't make a big fuss. If a stranger comes in, he runs and hides. And then when the stranger leaves, he comes out and he's not pissed off. He doesn't care, he's okay, He doesn't make a big fuss, he doesn't give me a hard time over it. It's just like, that's done, now let's eat, So, these are my spiritual models, and I have 5 little poodles that also are my spiritual teachers, but this is what I want to think of, and this is what I want you to think of. When you're hard on yourself, and when you think there's something wrong with you, there may be, we have some little things that are wrong with us that we may need to fix, but usually they're not, Tolle talks about time, being in and out, being present. And most of our issues are not present, When they are, he says, we don't make a problem out of them. When you're in the middle of an emergency, you take care of it. And it's true, we don't, okay, something happens, you run to somebody's aid, you take care of it, and then afterward, you think about it, But other things we think about, if this had happened before, and if that had happened in the future, and so if we take care of those things, whether they're emergencies or not, but the blips in our life that we can change, the things that make us feel wrong with ourselves for rational reasons, those are the things we can take care of. And it comes down pretty much to, Tolle says you have 3 things you can do: accept, change, or leave, And the Serenity Prayer says, change what you can, accept what you can't, and be smart enough to figure out the difference, So I think that's really what it comes down to. I can't even see it. I brought my phone up here so I can see the time, and I can't see it, but I'm done, and I don't think I went over, which is miraculous all by itself. So I love you all. Bless you all. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Bunny. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful spirit with us, reminding us that we are the light of the world, and also for reminding us about our humanity. Thank you very much.